It's the Luxe Mini Peak XL Pro Shelter Hot Tent and Center Pole, the 3RG Titanium Collapsible Stove, and the Luxe Bathtub Floor Solo. It's everything that you need to start hot tenting. I'm going to give you a complete review, the good things, the bad things, and I'm also going to show you how to set it up. Stay tuned. After you find a nice flat spot that's about 9 feet by 9 feet, lay out your tent. Make sure that your doors are facing the right directions that you want them to face. And there is a stove jack on one side where your stove needs to go. So factor that in and make sure that's on a level spot. But the first thing that you need to do is stake out the four corners. Now, the hot tent does come with some titanium stakes. However, when there are frozen conditions, I tend to just use some big spikes because the titanium can't go into the frozen ground. So the stakes here, the tent does adjust, so leave it nice and loose, and then you can tighten it up later after you put your center pole in. Not included in the tent is the center pole. You can either use a pole that you already have or order this one. This one does have both ends where you can adjust for the proper height. So I am putting this together. I will extend it out once it's in the tent. So you just put the tent in and you put it right in the middle, right at the highest point. Make sure your pole is straight. Adjust the height. Should be all set. Now the tent does come with these vents on the top on both the front and the back. You want to make sure that those are open. Next, you have 4 more stakes to put in. One at both the front and the back door. And then you're going to have 2 on the sides for the guy lines. Then you need to tighten all 4 of the corners. Now that the hot tent is all set up, I open up both doors on each side, and I'm going to set up the footprint. Now this is the area that I'm going to be laying on. The footprint comes with 4 tile points with some grosgrain and a hook on each corner, and you hook those in right to the stakes that you've already put in. It's really pretty simple. In colder conditions, this is what would keep the bottom of your hot tent nice and dry when the snow melts. It's a little bit warmer conditions today where it'll keep everything from getting muddy. The tent is all set up, and that's pretty straightforward. Assembling the stove and the stove pipe is a little trickier. So I'll show a little bit more detail on how I do that. When you are assembling the stove pipe for the very first time, it's a little difficult. They recommend that you get a 1.25 inch, 10-12 foot PVC pipe and roll it up the first time using that. After you roll it and burn it in on your stove really good that first time, it's a way easier after that. Where you'll see when I do this, there is some memory here to this metal where it'll make it a lot easier to roll it up. You can see it's already trying to roll up without me doing anything. Now, it does come with some gloves for doing that first time and rolling up, and if you're not careful each other time, because this metal can be very sharp and you can cut your hands. But if you're careful, I don't wear the gloves. So it comes with a bunch of these rings that go in the middle of the pipe. You do want to be somewhat careful that you don't get crinkles in your pipe, which can cause some creases. Most cases it's just vanity, makes it look ugly. In some cases, if you crinkle it real bad, you could have some of that air and that carbon monoxide that can leak out into your tent. So be very careful. It's not super difficult. So the stovepipe comes with two different ends. One is the spark arrestor, which is the part that goes on the top of the stovepipe outside of your tent. And the purpose is to try to keep those sparks from coming out and dropping down onto your tent or other places. So it comes with a hose clamp. You want to put the spark arrestor inside of the pipe and that hose clamp on the outside. And that will pinch everything together and keep it nice and secure. There are some little tabs on the spark arrestor that keeps it from sliding down and blocking the holes for the air to come out. Once the spark arrestor is on, I attach my guy lines for it. They're tie-out points for that pipe, so when it gets windy, it helps stabilize it. These do not come with the stove, but rather I made them. I put a little S-beaner on the end to help hook them up. On the opposite side of your stovepipe is the damper, the little flappy thing that closes the stovepipe, and you attach it the same way, where you put this on the inside of the pipe, you put that hose clamp on the outside, and you tighten it up, and everything is secure. Next, you need to assemble the actual stove itself, and it comes in several different pieces. You have the top, you have the two sides, you have the front and the back, and of course the legs. The wood stove is just a box. It has these little lips on each side that you need to slide the pieces into, just like a little puzzle. Front obviously has the door on it. You want to make sure that the front is on the opposite side of the stove jack. Back in here, that also slides vertically on these little lips. And everything, you're doing it right, slides right into place. You put the hole for the stovepipe obviously on the back. And hopefully you're doing it better than I am. There we go. This all kind of moves around, especially next when you put on the legs here. The legs are what kind of holds the whole thing together. Once you have everything put together, turn it sideways, try to hold everything together. Stick your legs up through the holes on the corners. It goes through the bottom. You can feel it kind of go through the top. You put the nut on the top. That pulls down through the hole as a wing nut. Here on the other side, Make that nice and tight. That will hold everything together. Then you just go through that same process 3 more times on each corner. Now that your stove and your stovepipe are all assembled, it's time to set your stove in. So you want to put it obviously underneath where the stove jack is. And you just kind of eyeball it here. It doesn't have to be perfect, because when you put your stovepipe through the jack, you're going to have to move it and get it in just the right spot. Obviously, you want to put it with the spark arrestor up on the top. And then you just assemble it down here. There's some little lips that the stovepipe and that damper simply twist into the top of the stove. Then you take your guy lines and you tie them out. It's not windy today, but you never know if the wind could kick up for the couple days that I'm camping here. Then you want to kind of eyeball it up, make sure that everything is straight. I see that my pipe is just a little bit to the left, so I'm going to adjust my guy lines here, pull it a little this direction. There, the hot tent is set up, the stove is all set up. Now it's time to go ahead and set up my bedding and get everything kind of set up inside. It's all set up. You saw how easy it was, even for a dumb guy like me. Let me tell you some things that I like about this hot tent. The first thing is this material. It's a 68D polyester ripstop. I don't know how to describe it other than it's very durable. I haven't had any sparks, any holes in it, any tears in it. Super easy to set up with just those 4 corners, the tie outs. One of the things that I don't like about it is you can see my cot, my sleeping bag here. I am about 6 feet tall. With the cot, when I lay down, it is impossible for me to either not hit my head. I either have to hit my head or my feet are touching this side of the tent. So with condensation, my feet get wet. That wouldn't happen if I got rid of the cot and I laid on the ground. But if you're over 6 feet tall, and you have a cot that's 6-8 inches off the ground, you can plan on that you're not going to have enough head space or foot space. I've corrected that. I just put a garbage bag around the end of my sleeping bag and it works out fine. I really like this footprint. It works out well. It's super lightweight. Now this tent is usually $179. Right now at the end of December it's priced at $129. It weighs 2 pounds 7 ounces. The center pole here, which is separate, weighs 12 ounces and I believe is $38 right now. This tent also has a 4-season option where there's an inner tent that hooks right in to this other tent. You can see on these little orange hoops. It hooks right onto there. It has a screen on it, a zipper on it. It's the same size as that footprint. That would work well for 4 seasons when you have bugs and want to keep critters out, but when it's cold out, I don't need that, and it just takes up more room. Now that 4-season tent weighs just over 5 pounds, 5.5 pounds, and it's normally priced at $279. Right now it's $229. The last thing that I do when I set up my tent and my stove is up on the tent pole here. I have a carbon monoxide detector, I have a thermometer, and I have a light. I've never had that carbon monoxide detector go off, but if you had this tent really sealed up, you could potentially have carbon monoxide in here, so you need to be careful with that. The 3RG titanium collapsible stove here. It costs $349. It weighs 4.9 ounces. It's about 13.5 inches deep, about 6.5 or 7.5 inches wide, 6.5 inches tall. It has a glass door on the front. You can also adjust the airflow on the bottom. It has adjustable legs. The stovepipe, titanium rolled stovepipe is included. I really like this stove in that it's light, it's compact, somewhat easy. Comes with this really nice carrying case. A couple of the things that I don't like about this stove is I'm worried when I set it up in the snow or when it's super cold and your fingers are numb, there's all those little pieces. You saw me struggling to get the legs in, get these nuts on, get those rings on the stovepipe. And I would highly recommend that you order extra of these nuts. They cost about $1 a piece, and you can order extra of them. So if you're out camping and your numb fingers, you drop one in the snow or you lose one, you have some extra as backup. That being said, it's a nice stove. I'm looking forward. I'm at an event where I can see some other stoves and compare them. But it's kept me warm on all my campouts. I do a lot of cooking on it. It's really nice. If you're looking to get into hot tenting, if you buy this tent, center pole, the stove, the solar footprint, it's going to run you about $542 right now while it's on sale. And the whole thing will weigh about 8.5 pounds. I think it's really nice. All of this gear comes from Three Ridges Gear Company. And they provided me this gear for free. However, I'm not getting paid for this video. And if the gear was bad, I tell you it's bad. But it's not. And Three Ridges Gear Company has been the distributor for Luxe for about a year. And I'm not kidding you when I say it's the best customer service that I have received of any gear company. And I've heard the same thing from other friends where a guy named Jim runs it, and you can see on their website what gear is in stock, what's out of stock. It's in stock and you buy it. He ships it out the next day and you're going to have it within a few days. So it's really good. And if you have a problem and you email them, I always got responses back the same day answering my questions, and he was very helpful. So I recommend this tent from the Three Ridges Gear Company. My fingers are getting cold. I need to build a fire, warm up this hot tent, make some food. Thanks for coming along, friends. If you like this video, go ahead and check out other videos. And you can hit subscribe, punch the bell notification, check out Midwest Backpacker on Instagram and on Facebook. Thanks for coming along. We will see you on the trail.